I was standing at my kitchen window when I saw the moving truck pull up to what used to be my house. The house I'd downsized from. The house I'd sold at a loss so my son and his family could buy their dream home in the better school district. That was 18 months ago. But the truth is simpler than that. It always is. The doorbell rang at exactly 7:30 that Tuesday morning. I'd just poured my first cup of coffee, the one I always took standing up while watching the birds at the feeder Tom had built before he passed. 3 years now. 3 years of learning to be just Linda again, not Tom and Linda. Not half of something, but a whole person who'd taught second grade for 34 years and had a pension that let me sleep at night. Mom! Marcus was already letting himself in with the key I'd given him. For emergencies, I'd said. Though lately, emergencies seemed to mean whenever Jessica needed something. Mom, we need to talk. Jessica followed him in, her yoga mat tucked under one arm, her hair in that perfect, messy bun that probably took 20 minutes to achieve. She was scrolling through her phone, not looking at me. I made coffee, I said, because that's what mothers do. We offer coffee, we offer food, we offer ourselves, over and over, until there's nothing left to give. This is serious, Mom. Marcus sat at my kitchen table, the one I'd bought from a thrift store after selling my dining room set to help with their down payment. Jessica remained standing, still looking at her phone. The kids need new laptops for school, Marcus said. Top of the line. The school's going digital and… All three of them? I interrupted. Tyler, Madison, and Emma all need new laptops at the same time? The school requires it, Jessica finally spoke, not looking up. Everyone's getting them. We don't want our kids to be the only ones without the proper equipment. I thought about the laptop I'd bought Tyler for his birthday just 6 months ago. A good one. $800. One that had taken a chunk out of my monthly budget. How much? I asked, though I already knew I'd pay. That's what I always did. $4,000 should cover it, Marcus said quickly. And Jessica's car needs new tires. And Madison's starting volleyball, so there's equipment and tournament fees. I wrapped my hands around my coffee mug. It was one of the ones Tom and I had bought on our anniversary trip to Maine. We'd been married 42 years. He'd never met Jessica, and some mornings I was grateful for that. I gave you $3,000 last month for the kitchen renovation, I said softly. That was different. Jessica looked at me for the first time. That was an investment in the house, property value. This is about the children's education. The children, my grandchildren. The reason I'd said yes to moving closer. The reason I'd downsized from my 4-bedroom home with the garden Tom had loved to this small 2-bedroom condo. The reason I'd taken $18,000 less than market value because they needed to close quickly before someone else got the house they wanted. I'll transfer the money today, I heard myself say. Jessica smiled, finally. You're such a blessing, Linda. I don't know what we'd do without you. After they left, I sat at that thrift store table for a long time. When had my support stopped being love and become expectation? It had started innocently enough. Marcus had called 3 months after Tom's funeral. Their air conditioning had died in July. $5,000 to replace it. I'd said yes because I was still numb with grief, and helping them felt like doing something, anything, to keep moving forward. Then Jessica had mentioned how hard it was being a stay-at-home mom with 3 kids, how she'd given up her career in event planning to raise their family, how expensive everything was. Could I help with groceries occasionally? Occasionally became weekly. Weekly became daily. I had their grocery store app linked to my credit card. I'd stopped checking the charges because every time I did, I felt like the kind of person who kept score with their own family. The dance classes came next, then the summer camps, then the loan for the kitchen renovation that we both knew would never be repaid. Then the family vacation to Disney I'd been invited on, but somehow ended up paying for, while Jessica posted pictures, captioned, "Blessed life," with no mention of who'd blessed it. I'd retired at 65 with a good pension and Tom's life insurance. We'd been careful, always saving, always planning. I'd thought I had enough to live comfortably, maybe travel a little, definitely not worry. But somehow, month after month, my balance was lower than expected. The babysitting had crept in gradually too. Could I watch the kids Tuesday afternoon? Just this once? Then Tuesday became Tuesday and Thursday. Then every day after school. Then weekends, when Jessica had her yoga retreats or girls' trips to wine country. You don't mind, do you? Jessica would say. You're alone all day anyway. At least this gives you something to do. Something to do. As if my life before them had been empty. As if teaching 30 children a day for 3 decades hadn't been enough doing. I'd loved being around my grandchildren. Tyler was 16 now, tall and quiet like his grandfather had been. Madison was 13, all drama and eye rolls. Emma was 9, still sweet, still hugging me goodbye. But somewhere along the way, being grandma had turned into being free help. Mom can pick them up from school, I'd hear Jessica tell Marcus. She's not doing anything anyway. Not doing anything. I'd given up my book club, my watercolor class at the senior center, my Tuesday morning coffee with Janet, who'd been my friend since our own kids were in elementary school together. All because someone always needed me to be available, just in case. 3 weeks after the laptop conversation, I found myself at their house again. Jessica had texted, "Emergency, need you to get the kids." Running late at yoga, I'd picked up Emma from school, then Madison, then driven across town to the high school for Tyler. When I'd gotten them back to my condo, fed them snacks, and helped Emma with her homework, it was after 6. "Mom, can you stay for dinner?" Marcus had texted. "Jessica's doing meal prep for the week, and it's chaos here." I'd stayed. I'd cooked dinner for 5. I'd cleaned up while Jessica sat at the counter, meal prepping chicken breasts she'd organize into expensive containers she'd shown me from some Instagram influencer. "You're so good at this, Linda," she'd said, watching me load their dishwasher. "I'm just not a natural in the kitchen like you." At 8 o'clock, I'd driven home alone. I'd called Marcus from my car, told him I was tired, that maybe I couldn't do school pickup every day anymore. "Mom, Jessica depends on you," he'd said. "This is what families do. We help each other." But when had they helped me? I'd wanted to ask, but didn't. The conversation I'd overheard wasn't meant for my ears. I'd come early to pick up Emma, had let myself in through the back door like Jessica had told me to, and I'd heard their voices in the kitchen. "I don't know why she's being weird about money lately," Jessica was saying. "She has nothing else to spend it on. Maybe we should ease up a little," Marcus's voice. My son, who I'd raised to be kind, to think of others. Ease up? She sold her house and is living in a tiny condo with nothing to do all day. The least she can do is help us out. We gave her grandchildren. We gave her purpose. God knows she'd be sitting alone, feeling sorry for herself otherwise. I'd stood there in their mudroom, my hand on the doorknob, frozen. And honestly, Marcus, she's not getting any younger. Better she spends it now on family than ends up leaving it to some charity or something. This way she gets to see her money make a difference. That's when Emma had come running from upstairs, calling Grandma, and I'd had to pretend I'd just arrived. I'd smiled. I'd hugged her. I'd driven her to dance class and watched through the studio window as she practiced her routine, and I'd felt something inside me crack like ice on a winter pond. She has nothing better to do anyway. This way she gets to see her money make a difference. I drove home that evening with Emma's chatter filling the car, and all I could think was, when had I become nothing? That night, I did something I hadn't done in months. I logged into my bank account and really looked at it. The checking account was lower than it should be, much lower. But it was the credit card that made my stomach drop. 43,750 in charges over the past 18 months. I clicked through the statements, transaction by transaction. Whole Foods, $847.32. Target, Sucken 203, 16. Nordstrom, 2,34, $1, 18. Apple Store, Fire, 127,9. Peloton, 2,845. Best Buy, $1,892.74. On and on and on. And that was just one card. I had 3 cards linked to their accounts for emergencies and necessities. The second card, $38,902.14. The third card, $29,477. Bashasen. I sat at my laptop until 2 in the morning, going through every charge. The family vacation I'd supposedly split with them, $8,900, all on my cards. The kitchen renovation, $17,000. Madison's bedroom furniture, $4,300. The laptops I'd just paid for, still pending. They weren't even using their own money. They were using mine. Every single thing. I pulled up their social media. Jessica's Instagram was full of pictures. Their beautiful kitchen, the kids with their new laptops, Madison's volleyball tournament, family dinner at that expensive steakhouse downtown, the one where I'd seen a charge for $430, and Jessica had mentioned they'd celebrated Marcus's promotion. Not one picture of me. Every caption about being blessed, about gratitude, about how hard they worked to provide this life for their children. I found Marcus's text thread and scrolled back. 6 months of conversations, and it was the same pattern. Hey, Mom, can you? Mom, we need. Mom, quick favor. Never. How are you? Never. Do you need anything? Never. Let's have lunch, just us. The last time Marcus had called me just to talk, with no favor to ask, had been before Tom died, 3 years ago. What if I stopped paying? The thought came suddenly, clear as Tyler's voice. What if their comfort ended before mine ever did? I thought about Tom, about how hard we'd worked, how we'd saved quarters in a jar, how he'd worked overtime to pay for Marcus's college, how we'd delayed our own dreams so our son could have opportunities. And this is what it had bought. A daughter-in-law who saw me as a resource, a son who'd learned to see me the same way, grandchildren who loved me, maybe, but who'd been taught that grandma's house was where you went when you needed something. The next morning, I called my bank. I need to cancel some automatic payments, I told the representative. She was young, younger than Jessica, with a kind voice. How many are we talking about? She asked. I'd stayed up all night making a list. Every single authorization I'd given them, every linked account, every automatic payment. 47, I said. 47 separate authorizations. There was a pause. Ma'am, are you sure? That's quite a few. If these are legitimate, they're legitimate, I interrupted. And I'm sure all of them. I want them all canceled. Today. It took 90 minutes on the phone. 47 authorizations spanning 3 credit cards and my checking account. Grocery delivery, Target subscriptions, Madison's volleyball fees, the automatic payment for their streaming services, their phone plans, their car insurance, all of it. Gone. Is there anything else I can help you with today? The representative asked when we'd finished. Actually, yes, I said. I need to file a fraud report. A fraud report? Over $110,000 in unauthorized charges over 18 months. Another pause. Ma'am, you said these were legitimate charges. I said they were charged legitimately. I didn't say I'd authorized all of them. I need this documented. I didn't file criminal charges. They were my family. But I wanted it on record. I wanted someone besides me to know that this had happened, that I hadn't just been generous, I'd been taken from. The representative helped me file the report. She sounded sad when we hung up. Or maybe I was projecting. Next, I called my attorney. Tom and I had met Richard when we'd drafted our wills 20 years ago. He was semi-retired now, but still took my call. Linda, it's good to hear from you. How can I help? I told him everything. He listened without interrupting. I'd like to change my will, I said when I'd finished. and I need your advice on some other matters. We met in his office 2 days later. By the time I left, I had a new will, a power of attorney document that explicitly excluded Marcus and Jessica, and a living trust that protected my assets. Everything was now set up to go to Tyler, Madison, and Emma equally when they turned 25. Until then, Richard's firm would be the trustee. "You're doing the right thing," Richard said as I left. "Protecting yourself isn't selfish." I wanted to believe him. The first call came 3 days later. "Jessica, Linda, my grocery delivery was declined. Your card must have expired or something." "It didn't expire," I said calmly. "I canceled it." Silence. "Then, what do you mean you canceled it?" "I mean, I called the bank and removed the authorization. That card and the others. But why? Did we do something wrong?" I almost laughed. Did we do something wrong? As if it were a mystery. "I need to manage my own finances more carefully," I said. "I'm on a fixed income, and I need to be more mindful. But we depend on you." Her voice had risen. "The kids need—" "Marcus has a good job," I interrupted. "I'm sure you'll figure it out." "I can't believe you're doing this. We're family." "I know," I said, "which is why I'm sure you understand." She hung up on me. Marcus called an hour later. "Mom, what's going on?" "Jessica is really upset." "I've decided to be more careful with my money," I said again, using the same calm tone. "I need to think about my future." "Your future?" "Mom, you have plenty of money. Dad's life insurance is mine," I finished. "Dad's life insurance is mine. Our savings are mine. My pension is mine." "Of course it is. But you're our mother. We're not strangers. When's the last time you invited me to dinner when you didn't need me to cook it or pay for it?" I asked. The question hung there between us. "When's the last time you called just to see how I was doing? When's the last time you asked if I needed help with anything?" "Mom, I love you, Marcus. I love all of you. But I'm done being an ATM with a grandmother attached." I hung up before he could respond. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding. But I felt something else, too. Relief. For 2 weeks, they didn't call. No texts, no drop-bys. The school pickups I'd been doing every day stopped without a word. I waited to feel guilty, to feel like I'd done something wrong. Instead, I called Janet and asked if she wanted to restart our Tuesday morning coffee dates. I signed up for the watercolor class again. I booked a small cruise to Alaska for the spring, something Tom and I had always wanted to do. The doorbell rang on a Sunday afternoon. I almost didn't answer. But then I heard, "Grandma? It's me." "Tyler." I opened the door, and he was standing there alone, his beat-up Honda in my driveway. He was so tall now. When had that happened? "Can I come in?" he asked. I stepped aside. He sat at my thrift store table the same way his father had, but there was something different in his expression. He looked uncomfortable, young, sad. "I'm sorry," he said finally. "For what?" "For everything. For not seeing it. I knew Mom was using your cards all the time. I knew we always asked you for stuff. I just thought. I don't know what I thought." "It's not your fault, Tyler." "I heard her," he said, looking at his hands. "I heard her tell Dad that you were being selfish, that you had all this money and weren't even using it, that you owed them for giving you a reason to live after Grandpa died." Each word landed like a stone. "She said you'd be nothing without us, that at least helping us made your life mean something." "Tyler, but Grandma, you taught second grade for forever. You helped hundreds of kids. You and Grandpa built a good life. You're not nothing. You were never nothing." I couldn't speak. This child, this young man who I'd watched grow up, who I'd loved from the moment Marcus had called to say he'd been born, was seeing me, actually seeing me. "Mom and Dad are fighting a lot," he continued. "About money. Dad got the credit card bills. He didn't know how much Mom was charging. He thought you were just helping with some stuff, not paying for everything." "Your father knew," I said gently. "Maybe not the exact amount, but he knew." Tyler nodded slowly. "Yeah, I guess he did." We sat there for a while in silence. I got a job, Tyler said finally, at the movie theater. It's not much, but I'm saving up. I want to come see you sometimes, if that's okay. Just me. Not because I need anything, just because I miss you. Something in my chest loosened. I'd like that very much. He stood to leave, then turned back. Grandma? What you did. Cutting them off. I don't think it was mean. I think it was brave. I don't know if I could do it. You'd be surprised what you can do, I said, when you realize you've been funding your own erasure. He hugged me goodbye, and for the first time in 18 months, I felt like I'd made the right choice. Marcus and Jessica showed up together 3 weeks later. I'd known they'd come eventually. Jessica looked thinner, tired. Marcus looked older than 38. Mom, we need to talk, Marcus started. I've already said everything I needed to say, I replied, standing in my doorway. Not inviting them in. That was new. We didn't realize how much we were asking from you, Jessica said. She wasn't meeting my eyes. Marcus showed me all the statements. I didn't know it added up to so much. You knew, I said simply. You both knew. You just didn't care. That's not fair, Marcus protested. You never said it was a problem. When would I have said it? I asked. Between picking up your children and cooking your dinners and paying your bills. When you called asking for money, should I have said no and risked not seeing my grandchildren? You put me in an impossible position, and you knew it. Jessica's face crumpled. I didn't. I just thought, you're their grandmother. I thought you wanted to help. I did want to help, I said. I wanted to be part of your lives. Instead, I became a resource to be used. Do you know what that feels like? To wonder if your own son loves you or just loves what you can give him? Marcus looked stricken. Mom, of course I love you. Then prove it, I said. Show up, call, invite me to dinner, and let me just be grandma, not the person who pays for dinner. Let me have a relationship with my grandchildren that isn't based on what I can provide. We can do that, Jessica said quickly. We will, if you could help us with. No, I interrupted. I'm not helping anymore. Not with money. You both have good jobs. You live in a beautiful house. A house I took a loss on my own home to help you buy. You'll figure it out. We might lose the house, Marcus said quietly. The words were meant to hurt, to make me feel guilty, to make me save them one more time. Then you'll downsize, I said. Like I did. There's no shame in living within your means. I started to close the door. Mom, wait, Marcus said. I'm sorry. I really am. I didn't see it. I didn't see what we were doing to you. I looked at my son. I saw the little boy who'd brought me dandelions from the yard, the teenager who'd cried on my shoulder after his first breakup, the young man who'd asked me to help him pick out the ring for Jessica. I also saw the man who'd let his wife demean me, who'd gone along with taking more and more, who'd called his mother selfish for wanting to keep her own money. I believe you're sorry, I said, but I need you to understand something. I spent 42 years married to your father. We built a life together through hard work and sacrifice. When he died, I didn't stop being a person. I didn't stop having value. I didn't stop deserving respect. I know. No, you don't. Because if you did, you wouldn't have let Jessica treat me like the help. You wouldn't have gone months without calling unless you needed something. You wouldn't have assumed my only purpose was to serve your family. Marcus's eyes were wet. How do I fix this? I don't know if you can, I said honestly. But you can start by taking care of your own family with your own money. You can start by teaching your children that grandma is a person, not a piggy bank. You can start by showing up for me the way I always showed up for you. Can we try? I wanted to say no. Part of me wanted to close the door and never let them hurt me again. But Tyler's words echoed in my head. The way he'd looked at me. The way he'd seen me. Tyler can visit whenever he wants, I said. No conditions. The girls too, when they're old enough to come on their own. But you two need to figure out what kind of relationship you want with me that isn't based on my bank account. We will, Jessica said. I promise we will. I nodded and closed the door. I didn't watch them leave. That evening, I made myself dinner, just for me. I ate at my thrift store table with a book propped open, something I'd never allowed myself to do when I was younger because Tom liked conversation at meals. My phone buzzed. A text from Tyler. "Proud of you, Grandma." I smiled. 3 months later, Tyler comes every other Sunday for lunch. Just lunch. He brings his own money for gas. He tells me about school, about the girl he likes, about college applications. He asks about my watercolor class. He wants to see my Alaska cruise photos when I get back. Madison texted me last week, just, "I miss you." I texted back, "I miss you too, sweetie. We're planning a grandmother-granddaughter day, just the two of us. No agenda, no errands, just time." Marcus and Jessica are seeing a financial counselor. Marcus told me they've had to make changes, cut back on things. They've listed the house. They're moving to something smaller, something they can actually afford. He didn't ask me for help. That alone felt like progress. Do they understand now? I don't know. Maybe they're learning, maybe not. But I've learned something more important. I've learned that love without boundaries isn't love. It's just exploitation with a sweeter name. I've learned that being needed isn't the same as being valued. I've learned that my life didn't end when Tom died, and it didn't only matter when I was useful to someone else. I've learned that sometimes the kindest thing you can do for someone is to stop enabling them, even when they're your own child, especially when they're your own child. And I've learned that it's never too late to choose yourself, to say enough, to stop funding your own disappearance. The truth is, I don't know if Marcus and I will ever have the relationship I once hoped for. Maybe too much has been broken. Maybe trust, once shattered, doesn't fully heal. But I know this: I did the right thing. For me, for the future I still have ahead, for the woman Tom married who got lost somewhere between being a mother and being a means to an end. I look at my bank account now and I see possibility, not depletion. I see the Alaska cruise, the watercolor class, the rainy day fund that's actually for my rainy days. And when Tyler sits across from me at this thrift store table, telling me about his dreams for college, I see something else. I see that real love doesn't come with a price tag. It doesn't come with expectations or obligations. Real love shows up. It asks how you are. It values you for who you are, not what you can provide. And if that means spending my final years with smaller gatherings and quieter dinners, but with people who actually want me there, then I'll take it. Because I'm not nothing. I never was. I was just too busy giving to notice I'd stopped receiving. Not anymore.